So yeah, welcome everybody to Parashat Tazria. If you want to read, I ask that you put up your hand and I'll call on you. And if you want to draw on the screen, you can do that too using the annotate, who will be our first reader for an itty bitty teeny tiny verse.
Can
Yeah.
I give it a shot?
Well, it's not Yolanda, is it?
No,
Nope, it's
Eileen.
Eileen. No, Yolanda. I see your hand is up. Okay, Eileen, please go ahead. Eileen, go ahead. First one's yours.
Vadeber Adonai ad Moshe Lemon.
That's it. Vaidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. Very, very good. This is okay. So this is this is how a lot of the parashot start. So we've discussed the kinds of things that show up in this little itty bitty verse, like why there's a dagesh in the lamed and what each of these words means. I think we've even had a discussion about God's name. So I'm not going to delve back into those again. I'd like to get further into the parasha, but yeah, excellent reading. Who would like a little bit bigger
So that
verse? Yolanda?
Okay.
It's not Yolanda. What is your name?
No, that is the name. I changed
Oh,
it.
you changed it. I
Right.
thought
It,
I
it was
thought it was
Lauren. That was my
that's
granddaughter, but
right.
I
And you
deleted
changed it. That's
everything.
wonderful. That's
I cleaned the whole computer and I deleted
oh
them.
man, you cleaned house. Well, this is your verse. Go ahead and make it happen. It's all yours.
Okay. Daver el Benei Yisrael lemor. Isha ki Tazria veyalda zahar vetama Shivat, no, Shivat, Yamin, Kimei, Nidat, Dotach, Titma.
Very good reading. Excellent.
Thank you.
I'll read through one time and then we'll discuss it. Daber el bnei Yisrael lemor isha ki tazria v'yalda zachar v'tam'a shivat yamim kimei nidat dotah titma. Okay. So this is a topic that I'm not exactly an expert on, partially because I'm a man. But the Bible talks about all kinds of things such as uncleanness and bearing children and killing and manslaying. And I mean, it's not exactly rated G. So let's just jump into what we have here in front of us and see what we can discover. This is an imperative. What binyan? Did we talk a little bit about binyanim at all yet? It's like it's an intermediate level question, but essentially there are 7 different types of verbs. And I think we have a discussion on this already. Does anybody know anything about the binyanim?
Yes.
Which one is this one?
Kal,
This has a strong doubling dagesh in the second root letter.
Yeah.
It's going to be PL. It's not a call. No, it's all right. All right. So PL, in case we don't know what PL means, that's fine. That means we have room to grow. And if we do know what it means, then yay. El B'nai Yisrael, there's your construct chain right there, sons of Israel or children of Israel. Lemor is an infinitive construct. Yes. Isha, a woman, and then ki. So what we're looking at here, because of this word ki, is a specific case of law in the Bible, right? Some laws there is no specific case for, like love your neighbor as yourself. that doesn't have any qualifiers. But some of them do have qualifiers. That's because it's kind of like case law. If this happens, then do that. Or not case law, I guess, but specific cases. If this is the case, then you should do that. If that is the case, then this is what you should do. So the fact that there's a key here, maybe also an im would do the same thing. Tazria. Now, this is a very interesting word. Does anybody know the root of it?
Zera,
Zera, which means
seed.
seed, like the stuff you sow on the ground in order to have a harvest. Tazria is a causative binyan. It is a he feel causing, and the tav here says she, a woman is the subject, obviously, because Isha is right there. If a woman, if she would make seed, well, you can see how the translation has translated it. But it's an interesting concept. You know, we think of conceiving offspring. That's the verb right there, conceive. Look at how Hebrew thinks of it. Making or causing seed. V'yalada, there's your kal verb. And she would bear zachar, a male. All right, so there's our if statement right here. Well, actually, it's probably, minus the, well, I guess it's that right there. Okay. If she should bear a male child, and then the then statement comes afterward. Well, the word then isn't there. It's just the. I know. Welcome to Hebrew. But it's inserted here in the translation to help us dumb English speakers understand what's going on. Vitama'a. What's the root of this verb?
Tameh, unclean.
Tameh. If you can't think of what the meaning of tameh is, think of contaminate. Okay, so tameh is the one that is to be unclean. What's the one that is clean?
Tahor.
Mm-hmm. Tahor. And it's really frustrating because they both start with a tet and they both have to do with cleanness. So it's easy to get them mixed up. Tameh, think of contaminate. Shivat yamim. Why is there a tav on the number shiva? Why is there a tav on the number shiva?
I believe it's because it's feminine.
Ironically, that is not true because yamim is masculine. Ironically, numbers behave differently than what we know about with nouns and adjectives. Nouns that have a or a tav on the end are feminine, right? All of a sudden, the numbers do the opposite. If I have 7 daughters, I would say sheva banot. But if I have 7 sons, it would be shiva banim. So numbers are very, very strange like that. But the reason the tav is there is because it's in construct with the following word. But yeah, that's really weird how masculine ones are behaving like feminines and feminines like masculines. And nobody has a good answer as to why pretty much all Semitic languages do this. So, yay. Kime, nidat, dota. Okay. As it is in the key, the kaf in the front of this is where we're getting like or as. And then nida is a word that if you all know anything about Jewish literature, there's an entire section of the Mishnah and therefore also Talmud about uncleanness. Like if somebody has a child, guess what? There's a period of time that you would not be able to go to the temple until after you have completed the necessary requirements. So that's the word nida. Here again, it has a tav because it's in construct with the next word. And then dotah, kamatse on the end with the mapik, says it belongs to her. So as it is in the days of the separation of her infirmity, well, talking about if she, it's referring to the monthly time, the menses. Just like that, she will be titma. Just as it was for that, so also if she bears a male child. All right, any comments or questions on this long verse? All right, we have another itty bitty verse. Who wants to read this one? All right, Amanda, you have your hand up. I'll tell you what. I know you like to read. If you want to read the next one too, you're more than welcome to. Amanda, do you want to read this one and the next one?
Sure.
All right, go right ahead.
Uvayom hashmini yemol besar al arlato.
Is that a closed, unstressed syllable?
Orlato.
Very good. Excellent. Orlato. Uvayom hashmini yimol basar orlato. All right. So this is essentially referring back to that thing back in the days of Abraham, circumcision. Okay, you've now had a male child. Congratulations, Mazel Tov. Now what? Well, we need to trim a little off the top. Uvayom hashmini, and in the day, the eighth one, yimol. Okay, so this is the root. Surprisingly enough, it's where Aramaic gets mem he lamed instead of mem vav. Hang on a second. Yeah, mem vav lamed. And this is where the word mohel comes from. In Yiddish, he's usually called the moel, the mohel, and it comes from this Hebrew root mul. So yimol, well, that's strange. There's a dagesh right there in the mem. You know what I'm about to ask. Why, oh, why would there be a dagesh in the mem? Hint. There's your hint.
Because it has a double lamed.
It's not because of the double lamed. It's because it's a passive nifal. And nifal should have a noon right here. But guess what noon does at the end of a syllable? It assimilates. So instead of a yin mol, it just simply becomes yimmol. Let's see. The fact that there's a B right there tells me that it's passive. He's not doing something, but rather something is being done to him. Passive. It shall be circumcised. What? Well, here's your subject over here. The basar olato. So basar is the flesh. Olato, well, you know how to read. The O on the end says it belongs to him. I think we're good here. Amanda, do you want to read the next one?
Yes, please.
All right, it's all yours.
Ushol
Yeah, sorry.
Ushloshim
The font here is a little tricky. There are two dots there. My apologies. There's nothing I can do about it.
Ushloshim Yom Ushloshet Yamim Teshev Bidmei Hara Behol Kodesh Lo Higa Ve'el Hamigdash Lo Tavo Ad Melot Yame Tahara.
Now, I might have heard something that linguists call overcompensation. What letter is this?
A kuf.
It's a kuf. Of course it's a kuf. Yet when I heard you read it, it sounded more like a migdash.
Oh.
And the reason that is,
Gosh.
no, it's fine. It's fine. I'm not trying to pick on anybody, just trying to help out. it's overcompensation is the same reason like German people, as much as we love them, will say things like put the flowers in the vase instead of the vase, or the was instead of the vas. It's overcompensation. But anyway, so kuf here, make sure to give it a nice hard k sound. Now, here and here, it doesn't look like it, but it is. It's a closed unstressed syllable.
I thought it might have been, but I wasn't sure.
So this first one right here is essentially the same pattern as a word like chokhmah. And the only trouble is that kaf has no problem taking a shva. Hey, on the other hand, is a guttural. It's not going to take a shva. So it puts a reduced vowel that has the same flavor, the same timbre as the preceding vowel. So this is actually your clue that what came before was a kamatz katan. Remember, this guy right here will always have a reduced o sound. And that's telling you that this is also an o sound. So how do you pronounce that word right there?
Tohora.
Tohora. And then this one is nearly the same, but has a mapik in the end. How is it?
Tohora.
Exactly. Tohora. And again, nobody in Israel pronounces that on the end anymore, but they did at one point. Good. Let me read through it one time. Ushloshim yom, ushloshet yamim, teshev bidmei tohora. Bechol kodesh lo tiga, ve'el hamikdash lo tavo. Ad melot yamei tohora. All right. Yom is masculine or feminine?
Masculine.
Masculine. So shloshim is masculine, right? Well, shloshim doesn't really have a. It's not gender specific, I guess. If I have 30 sons or 30 daughters, besides God bless you, you'd probably not. Never mind. There's no difference in Hebrew. It would be shloshim or shloshim. The only numbers that have gender are numbers 1 through, let's just say 1 through 10. Now, granted, every number that has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 at the end of it will have gender. But what about 20 or 30 or 40? Well, those don't. Does 100? Yes. It's always feminine. Does 1,000? Yes, it's always masculine. So it doesn't change, is what I'm saying. The number doesn't change depending on what it's attached to. Only the numbers 1 through 9 do. And the only exception would be the number 10. Okay, that was kind of complicated. What is the feminine number 1?
Echad.
A hot. A hot. What's the masculine number 1?
Echad.
The masculine number 1 is actually the key to understanding the feminine one, because the number should have been, in the masculine, it's echad. In the feminine, it should have been echad with a T in it. But D and T are so similar that the D just kind of got lost. So now it's just achat. What's the number for 2? Feminine.
Dying.
I should have asked for the masculine one again. Why am I doing this to myself? Shtayim. What's the masculine form?
Shnayim.
Shnayim. All right. This also sees some assimilation because there should have been a noon in there. But because of the feminine tav that's stuck in there to make it feminine, it disappeared. Instead, there's a strong dagesh in it. Shetayim versus shenayim. Good. And then shlosha, shalosh, arba'a, arba, so on and so forth. I don't want to get too much into numbers right now, but you get all the way up to the number 10. What's the masculine form of number 10? Or I should say feminine now. What's the feminine form of number 10?
Eser.
Eser. With a sin. What is the masculine?
Asura.
Yeah, that's that phenomenon that we saw earlier where the masculine form has a hey. Oh, okay. Now from there, achat esrei would be 11. Echad asar is the masculine. What is going on? Numbers are all over the place. I highly recommend looking through I guess probably a Hebrew grammar that has a section on numbers, because the numbers are admittedly complicated. There are plenty of Israelis who get it wrong all the time. It is a complicated system, but the more you go through the Bible, the better you get. Did anyone notice that this is a singular, but is translated as a plural? Yet again, complicated with numbers. It just so happens that if it's more than 10 of them, Hebrew's okay with putting a singular noun instead of a plural one. Evidently, they think we're smart enough that because shloshim is a big number, yom implies plural. 30 day implied days. All right, so 33 days, she shall, what's the root? Yashav. Yashav, to sit. We don't get to see the yod because yod is a weak letter, but it did affect this vowel here. She shall sit. Sit? Why'd they say continue? Well, translators like to try to make things clear for us English readers. Bidmei, in the blood of Torah, of her purifying. Okay, so 33 days, she has to wait before she can go to the next step. B'chol kodesh, in any, all, every holy thing. Remember, when you have an oeh pattern like this, it is a noun. Like boker, rohav. Those are nouns. So that's why they translate it as a holy thing. It has to be a noun. Makes you wonder though, when you read things in the Bible like how could she? Look at this. What is a hav?
Mountain.
Hill.
Mm-hmm. What is kodshi?
My holy mountain.
A holy mountain?
You guys just walked right into it. Kodesh is a noun. So now how would you translate it? It's the mountain of my holiness, or some sort of holy thing. So does it make a big difference when translating into English? Maybe not. But it helps to pay close attention to things like this, because this is how bad translations creep into the text of honest people. All right, let's see. Okay, so the idea here, lo tiga, she shall not touch. What's the root of tiga? You see that dagesh? It's right there.
Naga?
Yeah, naga. Naga is to touch or possibly even strike. Tiga should have been tin ga, but noon is weak and assimilated. Tiga, she shall touch. No, wait, lo, she shall not touch. So as long as she's in this state of uncleanness, just like anyone else who's in a state of uncleanness, you cannot touch holy things. It's not a sin to be unclean. You're just unclean. You got to wait the time. You got to wash the clothes. You got to clean yourself. You got to bathe, whatever the prescription is. It's not a sin. Just go through the cleansing process. The El Hamikdash. This is what I mentioned earlier. And to the place that is holy, that is the sanctuary, lo tavo. She shall not come. Well, obviously, if she can't touch a holy thing like maybe a tithe or something that belongs to a priest, can't touch that, it's holy. Well, then all the more she can't go to the holiest place in the world, the Mikdash. ad melot, until, now this right here is actually actually, do I want to say it that way? Melot. I kind of want to. Melot appears to be an infinitive construct. Melo is what we would have expected, but look, there's a tav on the end. Have we ever seen that before, where a tav shows up on the end of an infinitive? Only all the time. Think of all of the infinitives that have a letter missing, like leave note. The root is bet, noon. There's a missing yod, but then a tav on the end.
Mhm.
Or laga'at, like this verb up here, naga. The infinitive is laga'at. Interesting. There's a tav on the end. Maybe the tav was original and it's a vestige of infinitive constructs that don't have 3 root letters. And so the tav is there to be like, hey, I'm pretending to be the 3rd root letter. At least that's the theory. So something similar seems to have happened here because the aleph has quiesced. It's at the end of a syllable. It doesn't make a sound. So it looks like the tav was left. Melot yamei Torah, the fulfilling of the days of her being clean or purification. I wonder if this right here is coming from the word, I guess it's tohav. Tohav. Like that. Just like boker or kodesh, it's a noun. So tohav would be the thing related to being clean that belongs to her. Good. Comments or questions on anything in this verse before we move on? All right. Who's my next reader? All right. Amanda. Oh, Jesse. Okay. Jesse, let me give you the next one. Amanda, don't worry. There's plenty more to go around. Go ahead, Jesse.
Ve'im nekva teled ve'tam tama shevuaim kenidata ve'shishim yom ve'shishet yamim teshev al deme Torah.
Mm-hmm. So we've talked about the possibility of a new mother having a son. Now the Bible is moving over. Well, what if this new mother has a daughter? Ve'im nikeva teled vetam'a shavuayim kanidatah v'shishim yom v'sheshet yamim teshev al deme tahora. Wait a second. So earlier, if it's a male child, it's 33 days. And now all of a sudden we get double that. Look at this. Shesh is 6. Shishim is 60. Sheshet is the masculine form of 6, 66 days. Now, there are all kinds of fanciful explanations as to why this is the case, the most popular of which is that a male child is one person, whereas a woman, a daughter, is one who is able to bring forth even more life or something like that. Not sure I really subscribe to it, but hey, here it is in the Bible. Voila. So there's a difference in whether the mom has a son or a daughter. Ve'im, there's our specific case if nekeva is referring to female. The word nekeva is not necessarily a made child, but I mean, it refers to it in Noah's flood as, the females that come on the ark. So that's kind of a strange translation right there. A female child, teled, from yalad, there's that missing yod again, right? If she will bear. Now, is that a closed unstressed syllable?
Yes.
I'm afraid not. It looks like one. It really does. I really, really want it to be, but unfortunately, this is a verb. To be clean or to be unclean or to be close or to be far. It's a state of being, but it's a verb in Hebrew. And as such, it is ta me'ah. This is a full kamatz because it's a kal verb. The kal, or I'll call it katal, even though that's not really the. No, I will call it that. Katal has an ah vowel, so it has to be a kamatz and not a kamatz katan. I'm so sorry. So basically what's happening here is whenever you see a 3FS katal verb, you can pretty much put money on the fact that it's going to be a kamatz. That seems to be the major exception to what appears to be a closed unstressed syllable. So frustrating that we have kamatz and kamatz katan. They look the same, but they're not the same. What's going on here? Just remember that kamatz was originally an aw sound, and kamatz katan was a short o sound. They sounded the same. But it was in the Sephardic dialect that this became more of an ah sound, and now they're not the same. So frustrating, but anything you study related to Israel will be complicated. Shavuayim. What is a shavua?
A week.
1 week. What is ayim?
Double.
Plural.
Double.
Double.
It's called the dual plural. What other words do we know with a dual plural?
The ice.
Which is
I9. something like that.
einayim. Good.
A9.
Nine.
Especially anything that comes in pairs in the body. Oznayim, einayim, yadayim,
Reglaim.
raglayim, birkayim, motnayim. I mean, there's a lot of them. Zroayim. Zroa is your arm. Yeah, so that's your dual right there. In fact, we just looked at the number shtayim or shnayim, either one. Those also have a dual because it's the number 2. How about amatayim? What's the word amatayim? Uh-oh, amot.
Truth.
Now I'm questioning whether I'm spelling it right. I am. Amot, amma. It's not, even though emet is truth, that's because the root of emet is aleph mem nun with a missing nun. What is an amma?
Made.
Okay, fair enough. I'm trying to remember if there's a dagesh in there, and I can't remember. I think there is. Amatayim means cubits, 2 cubits.
Mhm.
Amatayim. So even though M is a mother and Ima is a mother, you would think that an Amma refers to a maid, right? Well, sorry, it's cubits, 2 cubits. What about 2 days? How would you say 2 days?
9.
Yomayim.
Oh.
So we're taking the word yom and then we're adding this ayim to it, yomayim. All right, try it again with shana. Shana is a year. What's 2 years?
Shanayim.
Naim.
Is the hey at the end of the word shana original, or was there something else there that got lopped off? The original marker of the feminine was a tav. So what we call shana was originally shanat. So the word for 2 years would be shanatayim. Now, unfortunately, this kamatz over here is too far from the stress, so it's going to drop down to a shva. But the point is, shnatayim is how you say 2 years. The original feminine tav comes back. See, kanidatah, nida, that's the word that There's an order in the that thing right there in the all I can say is Sidor right now, but it's not Sidor. It's the Mishnah. Yes. Sorry, I have a copy of the Mishnah right here. That's what I'm pointing at. It's an order of the Mishnah. Kenidata, according to her monthly menstruation, Shishim yom vesheshet yamim. Double time. Because it's a girl. Teshev, she shall continue or sit. Al deme tohora. Sorry, lady, you have to stay home twice as long with your beautiful, bouncy baby girl. Who would like to read next? Amanda, you still have your hand up from earlier. Do you want to read now?
Yes, please.
All right, all yours.
Uvim lot yame tohora leven o levat tavi keves ben shenato leola uvein yona o tor lehatat el petach ohel moed el hakohen.
Perfect. All right, let me read through it one time. Uvimlot yeme tohorah leven olevat tavi keves ben shnato leola uven yona o tor lechatat el petach ohel moed el hakohen. All right, so there's that word melot again, in the being fulfilled of the days of her purification, leben, or leven, for a son or for a daughter. This is what she shall do. Tavi keves. What? She has to bring a sacrifice to the temple? What did she sin? I don't know. Here it says it's for an olah, but then the bird, whether it's a yonah or a tor, is for a... Remember the story of Job when his children went to each other's houses and partied on their birthday shortly before the ceiling collapsed in and killed them? Remember Job said he would go and offer a sacrifice afterward, just in case one of them sinned. Yeah, I guess so. The idea here is there might be a sin being committed during childbirth. I mean, can you blame her? Be like, you did this to me. Look, my wife's had children. I know what it's like. Did she have an ill thought towards me during childbirth? I don't know. She's so sweet. She would never tell me. But the idea that you see something like this, a woman has to bring a sin offering to the temple, it's like something to think about. What about an olah? Is an olah a sin offering? Is it for sin?
Whole burnt offering, olah.
It's a whole burnt. Yeah. So the question I'm asking is, what kinds of sacrifices are there? Which ones are actually because of an actual sin? I guess what I'm asking is, what's the purpose of each of the different kinds of offerings? We've got the olah, whole ascending burnt offering. We've got the chatat, which is obviously some sort of a oops, I made a mistake sin offering. There's a guilt offering. There's a peace offering. There's a thanksgiving offering. Are all of them for sin?
No.
No, they're not. Suppose you stumble upon, or suppose you have a very fortunate turn of events or something, and you want to thank God for that opportunity. Guess what? You would probably bring an olah and a thanksgiving offering. Okay, so the olah offering, as we look through the Bible, is almost like I won't say that. I won't say it that way. It's almost like a prerequisite. It's like, bring your olah, then let's talk. So it's not necessarily like for here, it's not a sin offering. There is a sin offering, but you bring the olah first. Same thing with giving thanks. What about a guilt? So the olah is very interesting in the fact that it's not necessarily for a specific type of event, but rather it's the prerequisite to bringing an offering before the Lord. And its name, olah, comes from Allah, to go up, to ascend. The idea being you burn the whole thing up. What do you mean? Are some of the sacrifices not completely burnt up? Yeah. All the sin and guilt offerings, the Levites get to keep a portion of it. That's their sustenance. But this one is supposed to be completely burnt up. Ben Yonah is a son of, essentially a young one, and you can see the translation has done that, as has translated that way here, a son of a Yonah. Who is Yonah in the Bible?
Jonah.
Dove, which means
Dove.
Jonah, which means dove. Exactly. And if it's a turtle dove, it's a Torah. Yofi. El petach. What's the root of petach?
Open.
Patach, right? The vowel patach, which is, like right there. That's a patach. It means open up. That's why the vowel is called patach. So a petach is a noun having to do with the action of opening up. It's a doorway. It's an opening of the ohel, the tent, of moed, which has to do with appointing, or an appointed time. El HaKohen, to the minister, the one ministering. Yeah, the priest, the Kohen. All right, comments or questions on that before we move on?
That whole verse looks like a baptism of a child before the priest.
How so?
Uh,
I assume he's coming from a
just-
Catholic direction.
No, well, just based on the grammar that you described. It sounds like the child is brought before the priest. So the first thing, the child is brought, then is brought before the priest, and it's baptized from the burnt offering that was made on his behalf.
Is it on the
maybe I'm
child's
wrong.
behalf? Is it on the child's behalf or the mother's?
The mother.
Others.
I think based on this, it's the mother who has had this issue of blood, and therefore she has touched something unclean and has to go through this cleansing process. Now, granted, the child has also touched the same uncleanness, so but I don't see that in the text. But also, why the 33? Why the 66? I wonder what that has to do with the price of tea in China, right? Like I said, there are lots of interpretations, but I haven't found any of them really convincing. So if you want to read more on that, jump into Talmud. All right, who wants to read next? Yolanda, you have your hand up. Do you want to read?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Vehikrivo. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Lifnei Adonai vehiper aleja veto. No, that's not the letter. Okay. Veta hara
Very good. That's right.
mimekor. No. Yeah.
You're right. You're right. Mimako.
Okay. Dameha Zot Torat Hayoledat La Sahar o La Nekeva.
Good. We're finally bringing the topic that we started with to something of a conclusion here. Let me read through it one time. והקריבו לפני אדוני, וכיפר עליה, וטהרה ממקור דמיה, זאת תורת היולדת לזכר או לנקבה. Now this right here, zot torat, right here is, I guess the concluding section. Like this has been the law of, or this is the law of, what we just read. Vehikrivo, that's from karav, to be close, but it's causative in that he feel causative sense. So cause to be close. If I bring someone near, I could use this verb. But if I bring a sacrifice near and send it up to be close to God through the smoke, you can use the same one. So here it has to do with sacrificing, not necessarily just bringing someone near. There's another part of Leviticus where Aaron brings, is it Aaron or Moses? I think Moses brings Aaron and his sons near, and it uses the same verb that could be either translated as bring near or sacrifice. And that's kind of interesting how this priestly figure and his sons, I guess, are being hikriv, brought near or sacrificed. It's like, oh wow, almost like a representation or a I don't want to say vicar, but someone representing the entirety of the nation who is a priestly type. Pretty cool stuff. He shall offer, him, referring to the sacrifice, lifnei Adonai, before the Lord, before the face or presence of the Lord. V'chiper. Anybody know what Yom Kippur is? Of course. So kiper is that PL verb, to make covering, which they call here atonement. Aleha. So that answers our question from earlier. It is she who needs the atonement, or at least that's what's said here. Tahara. Now we know this is a verb because it lacks the reduced kamatz. So this is a 3fs katal verb, and she, well, reversing vav, she shall be cleansed from, now makor is the source. So from the source of dameha, her, and it is plural, her blood. How do I know it's plural?
Yod.
The addition of the yod. That's how I know. Zot Torat, this is the law of Hayoledet, the one who is bearing or has been bearing, Lazachar, to a male, or Lanekeva, or to a female. All right, shall we move on? Unless somebody else wants to put their hand up, we're going to cycle through those brave soldiers who have raised their hands. Jesse, go ahead. This one's yours.
Okay. Ve'im lo timtza yada de se velakach
Excellent.
shete torim o shne bnei yona echad leola ve'echad lechatat ve'kiper aleha hakohen ve'tahera.
Very good. V'tahera. So I really like how the Bible makes an allowance for the poor. I don't know about you, but if you've ever looked into the price of a lamb or a goat, it's not terribly cheap. So just imagine back in the day, it was essentially the same problem. So what the verses we're looking at here is, well, if you're not able to do that, then ... Let me read through it one time. Ve'im lo timtza yadah de ולקחה שתי תורים או שני בני יונה, אחד לעולה ואחד לחטאת, וכיפר עליה הכהן וטהרה. If תמצא, does it mean bring?
Not find.
Found.
Find. And who is the subject?
Her.
She.
She.
She, her, referring to the woman, obviously, right?
Mhm.
Or is that your subject?
Mm.
Hmm.
So her hand is actually the subject. And remember, hands and anything that comes in pairs on the body, well, almost, is feminine. So feminine, her hand will not find. So it's interesting to think about how the Hebrew mind thinks about these things. If her hand will not find, they, which is essentially something like enough, sufficient, say for a lamb. Does anybody know the Passover song? Dayenu, dayenu, dayenu. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
that's essentially the same word as here right now. Here that we're looking at here. Day. Dai would be the noun. Day is something more like a construct, I guess. Enough or sufficient for a lamb. If she's poor and she can't afford a very expensive lamb, well, then what? Well, then, ve is our then statement. Im is our if. Ve is the then. You can see it's translated that way. Velakha, then she shall take.
Take.
See how it says bring,
Mhm.
but it's lakach. She shall take in the sense of take in order to bring, but whatever. Torim, 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons. Why? Well, because of what we read earlier. The original rule was bring a lamb and bring one of the birds. Unless you can't get a lamb, then just bring 2 birds. Does this tie into something from the Gospels?
Mary.
Yeah, Mary and Joseph. Apparently they were poor because they brought 2 birds.
Hmm.
You asked also, somebody asked about whether it's lawful to pay taxes to Caesar. What did Yeshua pull a coin out of his pocket? No, he asked for one. Here, show me one. Bring me one. Does that mean he didn't have one? Maybe. Maybe he was poor too. But he
had
had
Judas.
people. Well, Judas was the money, the treasurer, right? And there was
Yeah.
also a lot of very wealthy women who helped fund his
Mhm.
ministry. So nevertheless, he says things like, foxes have holes, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. It's like, well, yeah, he was probably more poor than some people would be willing to admit.
Yes.
Let's see. One of those birds is going to be for the Olah, which we talked about, and one of them for the Chatat, which we talked about. And the priest is our subject. And it looks like, there we go. Now it looks like a U. The priest shall make atonement, aleha, for her, or upon her, vitahera. All right. Why is the stress
Mm.
here?
Just a line underneath that says so.
That's a great, that's a perfect answer. That's a perfect
The
answer. There's a,
Because it's 3 syllables, I think.
masculine.
Because
Right.
there's a vowel sound on the end which moves the accent back.
all right. So what I want to do is show you all, what was it in the previous verse, I think? This right here. This is a 3FS katal verb. There should have been a shva right here under the hey, but because it's a guttural hey, it's not getting a shva. It gets a reduced vowel instead. What's the 3MS form of this verb? The masculine?
Tahor.
Tahor is an adjective.
Oh, I'm
Tahar.
sorry.
Tahar.
Taher.
Oh.
Taher. So a lot of our state of being verbs have this a pattern to it. Think of karev, or which means to be close, or ayef, which means to be tired. Can we think of any others? Rachek, maybe? I think so. Rachek, to be far. Rachok, rachek, yeah. Gosh, there are lots of other ones. The reason I'm not listing them is because it has a, well, yeah, I could do that. Tzameh, to be thirsty. Ra'ev, to be hungry. So there are actually a lot of state of being verbs that have this a pattern, but we lose the tsere whenever we add that suffix on the end. Bummer. Except if it comes at the end of the verse, because that's when we get dun 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 pausal forms. Pausal. Some of you know what pausal forms are. At the end of a verse or at the end of a logical segment, like a clause, or I guess a clause would be the word, like here, or where's the halfway point? Right here. Or at the end of a verse, we get this thing called pausal form, in which accent may shift, the stress may shift, an original vowel might come back. And that's what's happening here. The original vowel came back, but in doing so, it also shifted the stress back. Instead of tahara, where this goes to a shva, or reduced vowel of some kind, it's preserved. Yay! Tahera. Pausal forms. Has anyone ever heard, what's the word for bread?
Lechem.
Lechem.
Lechem. Lechem. And the word bread has two segols. What does it become in pausal form?
Lech.
The original a vowel comes back here. Lachem. Now, I'm thinking of a specific place in the Bible. I can't tell you exactly where it is. I don't know. But it's something like bringing to you all bread. Lechem lachem. Yeah. But the point being, whenever you see that vowel doing something strange at the end of a sentence or phrase or clause, it's called pausal form. All right. I think we're good here. Does anyone have a question before we move on? Oh, look at this itty bitty verse. Well, the next one's long. If anybody wants the next verse, in addition to the short one, by all means. Caroline, you have your hand up. Do you want to read?
Please.
Would you like the long verse as well?
No.
All right.
Thank you. Vayadaber Adonai El Moshe Va'el Aharon Lemor. Okay, I'll do the next one.
Yes,
You
you
did
very
great.
much should. You very
Very
much
good.
should. You did so very well. In fact,
Oh dear. Adam ki yihyeh ba'or basaro sa'et or safahat or baheret v'haya ba'or basaro l'nega sara'at v'huva'a el Aharon hakohen or el ahad mi banav hakohanim.
excellent. Very
Yay.
nicely done. Very,
Thank
very
you.
nicely done. All right, so the little one that you read earlier is Vaidaber Adonai el Moshe ve'el Aharon lemor. So this is the same as what we started off with, except we have an additional ve'el Aharon. So now God's speaking not only to Moses, but also to Aaron. And what did the Lord say? Adam ki yihye v'or besaro se'et o sapachat o vaheret והיה ואור בשרו לנגע צרעת והובא אל אהרון הכהן או אל אחד מבניו הכהנים. All right, so I've read through it, but it's another if-then kind of special case law. We know it because of ki. That lets us know we're talking about a specific case. And you can see how they translated the down here as then.
Mm.
So our if clause is up here, then clause is down there. Adam, not necessarily just a male, but rather a member of mankind, of humankind. So any individual, if, when, Yihye will have be'or in the skin, besaro of his flesh. And then we get all these kind of gross conditions, skin conditions. So se'et apparently is a swelling. Sapachat is a scab. Now this one's kind of cool. Baheret. Does anyone know well, maybe not. That's not a terribly common word. Bahir is something that is bright. Bahir, like that. So a baheret, the pattern of this word, et, is very common even in modern, well, especially in modern Hebrew for diseases. What is the word Adom? What color is Adom?
Red.
Red.
Red, of course. I'm trying to remember if it's Odemet or Ademet. I can't remember. I think it's Ademet. I could be wrong, so please don't quote me. But Ademet is the word for measles. So something red happening to you is Ademet. It's got the same pattern as Baheret, where something is bright spots. So it's just a cool little point about the pattern of the word, oftentimes helping you understand what its meaning is. Not just the root will give you a clue about its meaning, but also the pattern of the word. And if it will be in the skin of his flesh, so basically a repeat of this right here, but now using a vekatal, lenega tzaraat. Oh, if it will be in the skin of his flesh, they've got the word like, but for the plague. Wait, I thought naga means to touch. Didn't we see that earlier? Tiga, she shall not touch. So then what is a nega, which is a noun? Someone has been touched, like struck with something. A nega is a plague, some sort of miserable condition. Tzaraat. Anybody know that one? Nobody does. No. Okay. So tzaraat is a word that's often translated as leprosy, but it's probably not leprosy. How do I know? Because in the Bible, tzaraat refers to a skin condition and a condition that can be in clothes and in the stones of buildings. Last I checked, buildings don't get leprosy. So it's got to be something else going on, or it's a single word being used to describe multiple conditions, one of which is a skin condition. So leprosy is what they have here. When they start talking about clothes and buildings, you'll probably see the translation shift over a little bit. The normal word for tzaraat has a patach here. Now armed with what I just mentioned in the, 2 verses ago, why is there a kamatz under the resh? I'd like you to
Pausal.
I'd like you to pause and think about it. Yeah,
Pause.
exactly. It's pausal. Now, even though today the pronunciation of tzara'at versus tzara'at doesn't seem like that significant, the original pronunciation would have been a little bit different. And everyone in the synagogue who's hearing these words being read from the bima, from the scroll, would have heard this and go, ah, that's the end of a logical unit. Much like we do whenever there's a pause, we say, oh, there's a comma or a period. Tzara'at, pause. Vehuva, we don't get this binyan very much. There are 7 binyanim, and this is among the least used one. What binyan is this?
Pufal?
Hufal. Hufal. Very good. He feel is the causative, right? Causing something to happen. Hufal is the same causative, but now it's passive. Rather than someone doing it, it's being done to the subject. So rather than saying he shall bring, it's now he shall be brought. Vehuva, the root is bet vav aleph. We don't get to see the vav because it's a weak letter. And he shall be brought, or then he shall be brought, el Aharon, that is the man who has that tzara'at or scab or bright spot or something else, unto Aaron the priest, or to one of his sons, the priests, because eventually Aaron's going to die and he needs someone to take over. Those are his sons. Who's going to read next? Amanda, do you want to read?
Me? Yes, please.
Okay.
Bera'ah hakohen et hanega baor habasar vese'ar banega hafach laven umare hanega amok moor
Meor.
meor besaro nega tsaraat hu vera'ahu hakohen vetime oto.
Excellent. Vera'ah hakohen et hanega be'or habasar vese'ar banega hafach lavan umar'e hanega amok me'or besaro nega tzara'at hu vera'ahu hakohen vetime oto. All right, so we've hopefully got a good handle on most of this so far. Vera'ah, see, and he saw. Well, there's a vav at the front. And he will see. Who? Hakohen, the priest. See what? Et answers the question. Direct object marker. Hanega, the striking, the plague. Where? Ba'ol habasar, in the skin of the flesh. And then you can see this vav right here. We might be tempted to translate it simply as and, but here they translate it as and if. It's an additional condition. The hair, se'ar, of the infection of the plague, hafach lavan. What is hafach?
What?
Remember that hafach means to flip or to flip over or to change. We get to see it in the book of Jonah, talking about how 40 days and Nineveh will be hafach, flipped. So most translations will say Nineveh will be overturned or destroyed. Well, Nineveh did overturn within that 40 days. It repented. So some people will point to Jonah and say, it was an unfulfilled prophecy. No, it was a fulfilled prophecy. It's just that the verb to flip has a little bit of leeway to it. Was the city overturned in a destruction? No. Was the city overturned in repentance? Yes. We also get to see Hafach in the Garden of Eden after Adam and Eve are banished. Remember the sword, hamitapechet? It's a sword that's flipping back and forth. Whatever that looks like, I don't know, but it's used there. Here, we have a hair turning, flipping, lavan, turning white. Umar hanega, and the sight, remember this is ra'ah, he saw, by putting mem at the front, you're turning it into a noun related to the verb. What's the noun related to seeing? A sight. And the sight of the plague, amok, deep. If it is deep from deep, what? This is a comparative mem. In English, we have and est. Big, bigger, biggest. Good, gooder, goodest. Well, I'm kidding, obviously, but tall, taller, tallest. Well, in Hebrew, there's a mem to show comparative, to show a comparison. So if it's deep from, that's basically saying deeper than. Or, skin, which we saw earlier right there. Besaro, of his flesh. So if all that's true, then we have sort of a then statement implied right here. Nega tzara'at hu. Plague of leprosy or tzara'at, it is, or is he. There's that patach that we should have expected earlier. Vera'ahu, now this is the verb ra'ah, like earlier, but now with a pronominal suffix. He shall see him. But who's seeing whom? The priest is a subject. The priest shall see him, the one who is struck. Vetime oto. What's the meaning of tet mem aleph? Contaminate. He shall unclean him. Isn't that kind of silly? He shall unclean him. Well, okay, in the Kal Binyan, we had Tameh. Someone is or was unclean. But now it's in the PL. How do I know it's in the PL?
Dagesh.
Dagesh helps. The chirik before it helps. The tzere afterward is also a pretty good indicator. So it's PL. It's now declaring someone tameh. The state of being tameh is now being imbued on something else. PL is famous for doing this, taking a state of being verb and applying it to something else. What's the verb maleh?
Full.
To be full. No, it's just the state of being to be. Ooh, I just had a big meal. I am full. Well, kind of. That's savea. But anyway, to be full. The glass is full. But what if he filled the glass? Mile. You use the other binyan. He filled. What did he fill? Well, it comes afterward. Et hakos. He filled the glass. So that's what's happening here. We're taking that tameh that we just studied and putting it into the PL, and that shows us, that shows the priest going, you are tameh. You are now being assigned the condition of tameh. He shall tameh oto. He shall pronounce him unclean. Up next, Yolanda. Oh, turn your microphone on. I can't hear you quite yet.
Ve'im vaheret levana hi beor besaro ve'amok ein mar'each min haor usara lo hapach lavan vehisgir hakohen et hanega shivat yamim.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Ve'im baheret levanahi be'or besaro ve'amok en mar'eha min ha'or us'ara lo hafach lavan vehisgir hakohen et hanega shivat yamim. Do we have an if-then clause? It starts with im or ki. Absolutely. Where's our then clause? It's just a vav. It's right there. So just so we know, there's our if and there's our then. If baheret, bright spot. And if there is a bright spot, levana, that is white. The he right here is misspelled with a vav, right? About 50 times in the Bible, you'll have he spelled with a vav. Why is it like that? Great question. We get to see lots of vavs and yods going back and forth in Hebrew. Here's one of them. Maybe it's because vav and yod historically were pronounced more similarly. Maybe it's because of a local dialect or something. It's hard to say. In the skin of his flesh and deep. All right. Now you see they have deeper, even though there's no mem yet. There's your mem right there. There's your mean, the comparative mem, which is actually the word mean. And it is deep. It is deeper, not in sight. So it's not. It doesn't appear to be deeper than the skin. Is essentially what's happening here. En mar'eha, there is not the sight of her from the skin. It's just skin deep. It's just skin deep. Use'ara lo hafach lavan, and the hair did not flip or turn white. Then what? Well, let's get another opinion in 7 days. Vehisgir, sagar means to close. Hiskir is causative. Cause to close. Shut up. Close him in. The priest shall close him in. Who? Hanega, the one who has the plague. Shivat yamim. For 7 of days. Masculine, because of the tav. Let's see. Does anyone else want to read right now? Otherwise, it goes back to Jesse. Jesse, it's all yours.
Okay. Vera'ahu hakohen bayom hashvi'i vehine hanega amad
Put the stress right there.
hanega.
Right, exactly. This has 2 different cantillation. Well, it's a combo cantillation mark. But anytime you get a noun that has a short vowel right there, and especially if there's a segol there, it's penultimate. Hanega. Go ahead.
Okay. Hanega amad be'enav lo fasa hanega ba'or vehisgiro hakohen shivat yamim shenit.
Very good. Vera'ahu hakohen bayom hashvi'i vehine hanega עמד בעיניו, לא פסע הנגע באור, והסגירו הכהן 7 ימים שנית. All right. וראה הוא הכהן שביעי, והנה עמד בעיניו. What are עיניו?
Eyes.
His eyes. Whose eyes?
His eyes.
Whose?
The infected one. Oh,
I'm not sure. What if it's
Maybe the
what if it's the
priest.
priest who's inspecting, and in his eyes he sees that it has amad, stood or
yes.
stayed. Okay. Lo pasa, it's not spreading. The nega is not spreading. Ba'or, on the skin. Well then, it's the same as it was 7 days ago. He's good, right? Nope. V'hiskiro hakohen shivat yamim shenit. He shall shut him up again 7 more days. Just want to be sure. Shenit is an adverb. It doesn't really mean more, does it? What does it mean?
2.
Yeah, the number 2. It's an adverb that means twice or moreover in the sense of doing it a second time. Let's see. Amanda, would you like to read this one?
Yes, please.
Okay.
וראה הכהן אותו ביום השביעי שנית, והנה כוח הנגע ולא פסע הנגע באור, וטיהרו הכהן משפחת היא, וכיסבש בגדיו וטהר.
V'taher. All right, you kind of rushed through this one. Say it again.
וכיבס.
Right. V'chibes. V'ra'a hakohen. And the priest shall look. Oto. Him. He shall look at him. Bayom hashvi'i. On the day, the 7th one. Shenit. He's already shut him up twice. Now he's going to look at him twice, right? V'hine, and behold, keha. This is the word for dark. If you want to talk about a dark color with Hebrew, like a dark red would be, adom kahe or something like that. Here it's keha. Hanega, the plague. Velo pasa hanega. Ba'or, and it has not spread over the skin. V'tiharo, is this a kal, Binyan? With that chirik right there?
No.
It's a PL.
PL.
Where's the dagesh in the second root letter then?
And the hey doesn't take a dagesh.
Yeah, exactly. God rules don't take a dagesh. So the dagesh, we simply forego it. And he pronounces clean him. The priest pronounces the man clean, or the person. HaKohen, there's your subject, the priest, HaKohen. Mispachati. We saw that word earlier. The scab. It is. Or is she. V'chibes, that's another PL, to wash. And he shall wash, it's a vekatal, so it's flipped into the future, and he shall wash begadav. Is this plural?
Yes.
With the yod, yeah. His clothes, v'taher. And then he shall be clean. Kal, vekatal, to be clean. All right, I'm gonna have to end just a little bit early today. Thank you all for coming out. If you all would like to see more videos like this, please consider supporting this initiative, Hungry for Hebrew. Come back next week and we'll do the next Torah portion. Lehitraot, v'shalom.
Later.
Bye.
Shalom.
Shalom.
להתראות, שלום.
Shalom.